Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Sports Federation TV, where we talk about sport, we talk about how sport is played, we talk about action on, off and even in the water. Today we've got an exciting episode. We're talking kickboxing, we're talking a bit of interesting information about how clubs are formed, why clubs are there, and last but not least we're talking life-saving. Good evening Mr. and Mr. Life-saving.
How's it going? How are you doing?
Hi Ryle, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. My name is Ryle, national life-saving athlete here.
Andrew, good evening, welcome.
Evening, Elton. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you how life-saving works in South Africa and specifically in Western Province.
Thanks for coming. Andrew, tell us, you've just started the conversation about how life-saving happens. What is life-saving, firstly?
It's broken down into still and surf. It's run by the body, Life-Saving Western Province, and we look after the clubs along the coast, ranging from Big Bay, Blouberg Strand, all the way down to Kogelbaai. We've got about 12 clubs. About 800 athletes perform both voluntary life-saving duties as well as competing in the competitions, such as Ryle. I mean, he's a defending champion in flags, but life-saving is more about putting back into community. We do about 90,000 hours a year on the beaches, protecting our beaches. A lot of the beaches are blue flag, which means we have to have lifeguards on them all the time. Through the partnership with Life-Saving Western Province and the city comes to the party, and we have a very good partnership with them, and they look after our blue flag beach lifeguards. And obviously during the holiday seasons, we need to make sure all of our beaches are covered. And then on weekends, our volunteers step in and do a lot of voluntary work and keep our beaches safe.
So those are the guys who sit in the red shorts and the red top and just sit in the sun, kind of thing.
Correct, the Baywatch babes.
Ah, Ryle, is that what you do?
To a certain extent, yes. I do some work actually. I'm not just chilling there enjoying the sun.
So what's your speciality? You're the defending champion in what component of life-saving?
Locally in terms of South Africa, a current SA champ title holder for flags and sprints. So it's just a certain element or one of the many events that you have in the sport of life-saving itself. And then on international level, in past world champs that I've been to, my most recent one is a defending champion for flags, which is another event.
Okay. So explain this flags event to me. How does it work?
Flags specifically is an event. It's about a 20-meter course that you take part in. It's an elimination process. So you're lying down facing away from these little flags or battens, and you get, on the starter's orders, it's down, which you're kind of lying down on the ground. You've got to get up, turn around and grab a flag. There's often one less flag than there are individuals or competitors. So it's performed just like an elimination process in that sense, and you get eliminated down to one. So yeah.
So how many flags are there at any one time at the start? Is it based on how many entrants there are?
Yes, so in the competition, I mean, you can get up to like over 100 competitors initially entering the flags event, and you get different heats, semis, quarters, what have you. So maximum sort of round of flags would be 20 individuals in each sort of heat, and they get eliminated down to, say, for instance, 10, and then those 10 move over to semis and finals, for instance. So yeah.
So you just keep going back and forth until you
yeah.
on the beach.
Yeah, so it's a lot of mind games and collusion at some point. You got to work towards certain tactics and trying to keep guys in. I think in terms of the relevance of that event and life-saving itself, is just a big mental aspect and sort of your reactions to thinking on your feet and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So I mean, what kind of training would you do for this kind of flag event?
Specifically just for flags, it's a lot of explosive work, endurance, muscular endurance is important, and then speed as well, a lot of driving on the sand. I mean, it's a very different element running on sand as opposed to the track or grass, so it is a specific form of training that you do need to do, but the sport itself is multifaceted. So I mean, there's so many different elements of training that you need to do different events, and flags is obviously just one of them. Yeah.
Andrew, Ryle's mentioned all these different events. So you've got the flags and you've got what else?
Well, let me go back a step. It's separated between nippers, which are 8 athletes or competitors or lifeguards or junior lifeguards from 8 to 14, and then our junior and senior lifeguards, which are 14 and above. If we look at the seniors and juniors, we've got surf ski, we've got board rescue, we have a long run, we have swim. So like Ryle mentioned earlier, there's a whole variety of different facets that make up the sport of lifesaving. And there are some team events. We do some rescues. We do some mock rescues where one of the members would swim out to a can. Once they reach the can, the rescue would either swim out and rescue them, or would come out on a paddleboard and retrieve them. A lot of the in the nippers, they don't paddle surf ski, so they work with boogie boards or Malibus. So it's just geared down, but they still do flags, long runs. So from the discipline side, it is pretty much the same. It's just the craft changes as they get older, because some of us cannot stay on a boogie board. But yeah, it's a great form. Weekends, Sundays, the beaches are literally littered with kids running around, and it's about participation. Kids have a great time, and then they, like Ryle will tell you, you start off as an 8-year-old scared of water, can't swim, you learn to swim, overcome the fear of the sea, you become water wise, water safe, and become a national
An international star.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to wear the green and gold, you know, so you can do, a lot of our lifeguards don't compete. They're not the competitive type. They'd rather sit on the beach and do the community service. And thankfully, we have those guys around, which allow our athletes to compete, because competition happens during summer, and we need to make sure that we have people back at the clubs protecting the beaches. So it's a good balance.
We'll pick up on that. Let's have a look at a clip and see what life and sea rescue is all about. See you now. Welcome back to Sports Federation TV. We're chatting life saving. I'm joined in studio by Andrew and Ryle. So flags is your game?
Flags and sprints, yes, yeah. Those are my two sort of fortes, yeah.
I mean, Andrew, what's it like having all of these, you mentioned earlier about the beaches being full with all these kids. Doesn't it drive you insane having all these kids running all over the show and a handful of lifeguards having to look after hundreds of people?
Yes, that's why we go grey as soon as we do. But no, it's because the community gets involved. Each of the clubs they have their own committees, their own clubs, and without the community involvement, we wouldn't be able to cope. Without the city's involvement, we wouldn't be able to cope. So the clubs get together, we share ideas, we meet regularly. There's good collaboration. It's all under the auspices of Life Saving Western Cape, who report into Life Saving South Africa. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of work that goes into it. As you'll see, some of the club's facilities are different from others. Sometimes the lifeguards have to sit on the beach. They don't have the facilities. So putting that all together and keeping it in one it's a tough job.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of hard work. Andrew, thank you for your time.
Elton, thank you.
We'll have an ad break, and when we come back, Andrew will swap with Andrew. See you now.